Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun and interesting episode for you guys this evening as we're doing a follow-up to the fact that Limited Run Games sold a collector's edition for the 3DO of D's Diner Director's Cut with burnt CDR games in the case. When I found out that that's what was apparently in the box, I unboxed my sealed copy on camera and did a video showing exactly what LRG was shipping, and it was just low-quality CDRs in a fancy case. That is not what people paid for and it's not what they expected. And within 2 hours of that video going live, Limited Run Games came out and apologized, and Todd from Todd's Nerd Cave talked about this on Twitter as well. He was one of the first people to hear about it, so I figured I would unbox my copy and see exactly what was inside of it. And to say I was disappointed would be an understatement. I still cannot believe that a game company, let alone Limited Run Games, would ship something on burnt discs. People buy these collector's editions because they want them on their shelves, but they also want to play the games. And this is from the original video. When I went into the case, all I found were printed CDRs, and I could not believe that was something they would actually do. And they used the guise of it was too hard to replicate 3DO discs and they had to go to CDR for maximum compatibility. Well, I have a lot of experience in replicating discs both on CD as well as DVD from shipping films, and I checked in with the last manufacturer I used to ship a film on DVD, and they said it didn't really matter what the disc was, they'd be happy to press it for me, shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. And as of today, over 2 months later, I still just have a batch of CDR discs sitting in my copy of D from Limited Run Games. And the biggest disappointment about this, and we'll go into it in the video, is that they said they were going to fix the problem and that this did not live up to their high quality standards. Well, that was over 2 months ago, and the only reason it made the news was because multiple prominent people within retro gaming talked about it. I'm pretty sure if no one ever did a video or tweeted about it, this may just be sitting in your case still, and Limited Run Games would have done absolutely nothing to try to fix the problem. Because the reality is a lot of these discs will not work on original hardware because of old lasers or capacitors. I've talked to multiple people I know that own 3DOs, and about half of them that bought this cannot run it in their system whatsoever. So why has Limited Run Games not done anything? We have all these words on the back, but what they forgot to print was dicking around. They stated over 2 months ago they were going to replace the discs or offer refunds. It's been 2 months and 7 days, and absolutely nothing has happened whatsoever outside of that original email going out to buyers. On May 3rd, 2024, they stated they were going to make replacement discs and they were going to press them, and nobody has heard anything. If this was such an embarrassment for Limited Run Games and this didn't live up to their quote-unquote high quality standards, how has it been over 2 months with absolutely no movement whatsoever? Because I also checked in on the average lead time to print about 4,000 discs. I figured maybe they sold 1,000 copies and there's 4 CDRs in the case. 2 weeks. That's the quote I got from somebody that I've used before to replicate discs. So it shouldn't really take more than 2 weeks to get these things printed, and let's say they give them another 2 weeks to actually ship them out the door. That should take a month at the most, and if this was such a big deal and this was an embarrassment for Limited Run Games, why are they dragging their feet and taking so long to even notify anybody of what's going to be happening next? Because if this was such a big issue, Limited Run Games really doesn't seem to be in any sort of hurry to actually fix it. And this is after multiple people on Twitter and of course me on YouTube talked about this, and you'll even see the top part of the video posted on time extension that I did back when this was found out. And it is just such a bummer that this is how 3DO fans and retro gaming fans are being treated. And trust me when I say the Panasonic 3DO hardware is old. If you're still running your original optical disc inside of it, it can definitely struggle to play burnt games. Burnt discs do not have the same reflective quality as replicated or pressed discs do, and that's why a lot of people who own 3DOs that will run original software are putting in these burnt copies of D sold by Limited Run Games and either not getting them to boot or having major freezing issues, because these consoles are definitely not getting any younger and a lot of the lasers have already died, and people will move over to either internal or external optical disc emulators. Lasers, as they get used over the decades, can grow weak and they will still boot original retail games but really struggle on CDRs. 3DO is no different, and some of the other consoles, Sanyos and Gold Stars, do an even worse job than the Panasonic at reading burnt discs. But that's because that's not what you're supposed to put into the actual console. You are supposed to put in replicated discs that have been pressed and mastered so that they are suited for the laser inside of that. The only time you should put a CDR into your 3DO is if you burnt your own game, or if you're trying to play a prototype, something like Killing Time here. It's on a burnt disc, and this this does read because it's a high quality burnt disc versus the definite middle of the road disc that Limited Run Games and their manufacturer decided to use when they produced this. I can read this in one of my 3DOs. In the other one, it absolutely does not boot, and if it does on occasion actually try to work, it will freeze in the initial cutscene. And that is because this game is basically all FMV videos, and the amount of data per second that needs to be read is higher than if you're just playing a game. It's not going to be necessarily loaded completely into RAM and run from there, and that is the big issue, especially on a game like D and using CDR discs. This FMV is constantly ingesting data from the laser and feeding it into the actual hardware of a 3DO, and if it cannot read it fast enough or correctly enough, you're going to get stuttering, and in the most instances you're going to get a flat out freeze. That is why you do not ship these things on CDR. That's why this was so disappointing from a technical standpoint, and I understand that they say they're working on a press disc solution, but how does it take over 2 months to communicate with your customers again? If I can just call a replicator, ask how long it would take to make 4,000 discs, and they say 2 weeks plus shipping. If this is such a bad look for LRG and they feel so bad about doing it, they need to actually ship these things. It isn't so much about me just trying to be mean, it's about the principle of the entire situation. This is not what you're supposed to do as a company, this is not how you treat fans, and this is not how long you take to even communicate. If it's going to take 6 months, fine, but after 2 months and a week, the fact that I haven't seen a single email come through, nor has anyone else that I've talked to that bought this and wants replacement discs, it is just embarrassing. It's really easy. Just fix it. Send us new discs, apologize one more time, and move on from it. LRG loves to take people's money for pre-orders and then they wait a year to a year and a half to actually manufacture it. Is that what we're talking about when we think about replacement discs for D? Because they took $65 plus shipping of everyone's money and promised them a collector's edition of a game that everyone wanted to play, and we ended up with a bunch of CDRs. And this again just makes absolutely no sense. If you're doing proper damage control, if you did make a mistake and you want to make it right, you make that a priority to your customers. But of course the 3DO community is very small compared to all of the other games LRG puts out, so it's very easy just to push it to the side, take the 48-hour bad news cycle, and then just ignore it until they finally deign to ship us something as a replacement. We're all just the corpses sitting around this room waiting for somebody to pop in and give us what we've actually paid for. And before you ask, yes, I did try to contact Limited Run Games for an update. I just did it not for my video game esoteric email, my personal one, and after a week I've heard absolutely nothing from them whatsoever, and that is just not a good look. You should never ship CDRs as a collector's edition, and when you actually get caught doing it and say you're going to replace them, you should do it with expedience, because they state they're currently working with new partners to find a solution for traditionally pressed discs. I took 2 hours and I was able to find someone who said send me the files and we'll ship them out as soon as we can. So this should be a priority for Limited Run Games, and I'm sure if this was a PlayStation 1 disc, a Sega Saturn disc, or any other more popular console with a bigger community behind it, it really wouldn't take this long. But the reality is it shouldn't have happened in the first place. You should never just burn games and pop them in a collector's edition, especially for a company as large as Limited Run Games. We're all trapped, they've got our money, and we're just waiting for the product we paid for. And yes, I understand we could have asked for a refund, but I did not, because I wanted to see how they would remedy this. And as of the recording of this video, the remedies have been absolutely nothing other than one press release and email the day that everyone basically found out that these were burnt discs in a case. So I'm leaving the candle burning. We'll see if D ever does ship, but leave me a comment down below. Did you purchase this, and have you heard anything? I checked with multiple people and they have not gotten a single communication outside of the beginning of May. Short of that, next time something happens I'll update this video, but I'm just a little annoyed this week, so we're gonna do it. See you guys next time. Bye bye.